Welcome to the Power of Pleasure podcast. I'm your host, L'Oreal, and I'm on a mission to help you embrace pleasure as a lifestyle. This show is a love letter to all the pleasure life has to offer. And each week, I'll be chatting with friends, loved ones, peers, and people I admire about all things pleasure. Through these conversations, I'm giving you the best tools, resources, and tips to help you create a life that is ooey gooey juicy good, one shift at a time. So buckle up and let's get ready for this week's episode. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, beautiful people. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the Power of Pleasure podcast. Today, we are talking to the goddess herself, Miss Honibee, and we're going to be getting into all the things. And the reason why I wanted to have Miss Honibee on the show is because she is really one of the few people that I have talked to in my life that are about what they say. Like if she says she don't give a fuck, she don't give a fuck, and her actions align with it. And I think that that is just such an amazing way to be, especially in this life, especially as a black woman, especially as a plus size black woman, because people love to tell you what you can and can't do and what you can and can't have. And she was like, "Fuck all that. I'm doing what I want to do." And she's done it in a big way, in an amazing way. And I figure all of us need to get in on this goodness. So help me by welcoming her with a round of applause. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Thank you so much for joining me again. It has been a long time coming. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for that.
hmm
It's interesting that she don't give a fuck because after I turned 50, that literally became my favorite word.
mm
For for several reasons. But
hmm I know that's real.
but I'm good today. And in fact, just this morning, let me be clear that I go in and out of giving a fuck.
hmm
For real. Like I find myself this morning. I've been busy the last couple of weekends.
hmm
This would have been the first weekend that I really had to do nothing,
hmm
and I had already scheduled myself to go be outside and do some things in a voluntary capacity
hmm
here in Louisiana. And I was concerned about my back. I was concerned about everything, but I was like, I'm gonna just go because I signed up. And then literally 20 minutes before we did, I said, I ain't going. I want to decorate my house for Christmas. I want
hmm
to, I just want to be. So
Yeah.
you go, the thing about getting to a place where you don't give a fuck, especially when you've been raised as I have, and we'll get into that, is that that's your mantra, but the internal part of you that's been indoctrinated to always care about everyone, what everyone thinks and what everyone
hmm
wants you to do, that should creep up at the least expected moments. And you're like, so you kind of got to pivot. So this morning I did have to pivot.
Well, shout out to you for doing that. And I'm sure, like, as you get, well, I don't want to say I'm sure, but I would like to think that as you get older, it's easier for you to do that. I've heard that, like, the older you get, the more life you experience, the more things you make it through, the less fucks you have to give in general. And you really start to do what feels best for you and what feels right for you. So I love that for you.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
it's been a journey. But go ahead.
hmm
I'm sorry.
yeah, no, you're good. You're good. You know how we do. Um, so your, I know we were talking a little bit last night, and you were like, "Oh yeah, a little bit," and I'm like, "Ma'am, listen, your story is so compelling to me." And for those of you who don't know, the Power Pleasure podcast was a summit that I did last year. And me and Honeybee got to talking like I think she was my longest interview for the summit because we were just going and going and going and just talking about her story and all the things that she's been through and the amazing adventures and experiences that she's had. And so I would like for you to just take a moment to share like what let the people know what your life was like when you were like strict Christian woman and what led to your shift in perspective, because you are dating a man that is 15 years younger than you, living your best life, having a damn good time, you outside. And so how do you go from living a life where I'm sure that was frowned upon to being where you are now?
Oh, definitely. I'm the youngest of two children. I'm the only girl. My family, black folks always like to talk about their lineage. My family rests on the fact that my grandparents, my maternal grandparents, met at Hampton Institute, first in their family to go to college. Da 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 da
Mhm. Mhm.
da. So the church that we went to when we were younger is the AME church. I don't know if any of y'all know about the AME church. The AME church is a little bit, let me be honest, the AME church is a little bit more, I don't want to say flexible, religious flexible, because that ain't it, but they're not as strict per se as like a Baptist, Pentecostal, Baptist, or what have you.
Mhm.
But there's still that same underlying old religious doctrine that's given. So as a little girl, I was supposed to, just grow up and get married, Um and there was all the things that you couldn't do and all the things that you shouldn't do and all the things that would have you. So I lived in New Jersey. I'm originally from New Jersey. I lived in New Jersey for the first 42 years of my life. Had a baby early, which was shame.
Mhm.
Um and, I was raising him and still following the rules. My brother married the first girl he dated in college. Marriage was never anything that was of interest to me because
Mhm.
I didn't see anything that it didn't look fun.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie. So I was like, I don't. And there were all these other things that were happening in my mind and my body that just felt wrong because of that upbringing that I had in the AME church. And because my mom, rightly so, was concerned about, my safety and things of that nature.
Mhm.
Um, Long story short, I ended up having to leave New Jersey for the sake of my son. And we moved, and I joined another church. I got into another church experience. Child, I went to the right church.
Oh
Um,
my.
and as it happens, we've had this story. As it happens, I'm going to this church, and I'm learning new things, and they're really. Now I will say that the foundation I got from the AME church when I was coming up helped me to navigate some of this harmful things that the white church was teaching me. But I
Mhm. Mhm.
volunteered to take the pastor had like 5 kids or whatever. I volunteered to take some kids to the movies. And that was me, I'm a maybe if that I'll do something they'll like me. I see it now. And I volunteered to take them to the movies and we watched Frozen. Now I have always had this gift. I see things differently in movies, books, or even than other people. I always see an underlying story. And it was that Snow Queen basically singing that Let It Go or whatever.
Mhm.
And it resonated. And I went to therapy like 2 weeks later and really started being honest about um who I was, some of the things I was feeling, some of the things I had experienced.
Mhm.
And that therapist took me on a journey that led to who I am now, to led me to be like, let it go, which became to me, fuck it. You know, I don't
Mhm.
have to be, you know, regardless of what I did. I got 2 degrees and or whatever, and it was never enough, or it seemed never enough for my mom.
Mm.
I didn't want to get married. I was told after I had my baby that basically I was damaged goods, so I was going to have to accept whatever came my way.
Mhm.
And as a Sagittarius, that became for me that I ain't going to accept shit.
Yeah.
Because I ain't
Yeah.
going to accept less than because I have a baby. I guess it's going to be me and my baby.
Mhm.
Um, so that basically is what it was. It was when I got away from what I knew
Mm.
that something new could form in my brain. And my family don't like it to this day. Girl, they think I'm crazy. Uh, and they can go ahead thinking I'm crazy, and that's fine. But I know that what they're doing in their lives works for them,
Mhm.
but it wasn't gonna work for me. I was miserable. Literally, had I not, when I look back now, even though I say I left for my son, had I not left New Jersey, you wouldn't be talking to me today.
Mm.
Because I wouldn't
Mhm.
be here. I was
Yeah.
miserable. Too many rules. Too many rules as a black, too many rules as a girl. Too
Mhm.
many rules as a black girl. Too many rules as a fat black girl. Too
Mhm.
many things that you're saying I can't do. And it was just like, nah. And what's
Mhm.
strange is the moniker Honeybee came from a sermon
Mhm.
in that same church
Mm.
that gave me all them boundaries. The pastor's son led a you're gonna have to cut all this up because I'm going all over the place.
No,
The
you
pastor's
fine. We
the
rolling with it.
the pastor's son came for revival one year. And child,
Mhm.
when I tell you I was in the church, I was in the church. I was a leader in the dance ministry, teaching classes to teaching computer classes to seniors on Saturdays. I went to 2 or 3 Bible studies during the week, and then my
Mm.
son had stuff on Friday. Child, I was doing the most. So it was at one of these revivals, which I had to attend because I had to dance. Um, that he gave the analogy of a bee. And in his summation of his sermon, he indicated that, we should all be like the honeybee because according to science and all nature, the honeybee should not be able to fly
Mhm.
because of the size of the honeybee's body
Mhm.
versus these little
The
tiny
teeny
transparent
little
wings.
wings. Mhm.
And he ended it. He said, so it shouldn't be able to happen. He said, but guess what? Nobody ever told the honeybee that.
Mm.
And I think at that sermon, although that I began walking this thing after that movie, I
Mhm.
think internally after that sermon, something happened in me. Because I had
Mm.
been listening to everything that everybody told me. I would never
Yeah.
get married because I have a baby. I couldn't do anything because not only was I was black and from North New Jersey. And if
Yeah.
you know anything about North New Jersey, ain't nothing, you ain't supposed to do nothing if you come out of there. And not only that, but when I became a mother at 22, mind you, I was grown. I had no baby at 16. But and there's nothing wrong with that. Let me say that.
Right.
Um, in the family that I came from, because I had a baby at 22
Mhm.
without a husband and didn't fix it. Because
Yeah.
let's be clear, some people in my family had got pregnant before they got married. They just got married before the baby came.
Right.
Um, and so I didn't fix the sin. I just went on with life.
Mhm.
Nothing was supposed to happen to me. And I just said, yeah, that ain't gonna work for me.
Yeah.
That ain't gonna work. So,
Yeah.
you gotta change the paradigm shift. But some of the things that my therapist, who happens to be a good friend, because I had to fire her,
Mm.
we we was hanging out.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but some of the things that I was able to work through and talk through with her,
Mhm.
um, led me down this is why I know magic, spirit in the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, works with us.
Yeah.
Led me down a path to healing things and closure,
Yeah.
because closure is a myth, but closure of things that I never thought would happen.
Mm.
Um, and I thank her, sister sexologist. I'm gonna plug her a little bit. I thank her every day for just being my navigator on that path.
Yeah.
Um, because although I developed, so what happened is I developed the fuck it mentality, but I didn't know what to do with that.
Mm. Got you.
Because I have been operating in how my mama wanted me to operate and
Mhm.
trying to live up to who my older brother was and trying to maintain the legacy of my grandparents who met at Hampton. I was trying to do all of that in a person a little girl who didn't know who her daddy was.
Yeah.
Not because he wasn't there, but because my daddy died when I was young.
Mhm.
So, I had parts of me missing, so I didn't know how to navigate that, and I had to navigate it on my own.
Mhm.
Because what happened is, so the part of the story I neglect to tell is when I moved for my son, I took my son with me originally to Delaware,
Yeah.
but my son left 30 days after he got there.
Mm.
And a baby don't lose no money. I'd already put my money down. So,
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
I said, well, I guess I gotta stay. So this is the first time in my life that I am just me.
Mhm.
I'm not somebody's mother. I'm not, cause child, I worked at the same job that my brother worked at.
Mhm.
I went to the same church that my entire family attended. So when I was at work, I was Daryl's sister. When I was at church, I was Daryl's sister, Judy's daughter, Christian's mother.
Your identity was always tied to
Always
everybody else.
connected to
Yeah.
somebody else. And when I moved to Delaware and my son left, everything I did after that was just Tracy.
Yeah.
Never had I done that in my life. Because when I moved out my mama's house, I moved out with my child.
Mhm.
So here I am, 42, 43 years old, heartbroken. Because let's be clear that I also left New Jersey because I let somebody get too close. And I was out and my face was on the floor because he embarrassed me because as men do.
Yeah.
um, so here I am in Delaware, heartbroken by myself for the first time as an adult and with this new bucket attitude. I don't know who I am, but I know I don't want to be the person that I have been for 42 years.
Mm. Mhm.
I don't know how to move through this new thing that's in me, but I know it's there.
Mhm.
And I don't know how to be an adult without somebody to depend on me.
Wow.
So my whole identity was wrapped in that. But guess what? I remember, well, wait a minute, the honeybee can do whatever.
Mhm.
So we here. We not going back to Jersey because that's unacceptable. We know we don't want to be there. We
Yeah.
don't know what happens we don't know what's going to happen in Delaware, but we know we don't want to go back. So there was no place else to go but forward.
Mm. Mm. Okay. So what I was going to ask, but you kind of already touched on this, but what I was going to ask, that moment where, you took the kids to see Frozen, um, and, you got that, it sounds like a light bulb came on and it's like, oh, damn, I don't have to do this. There seems to be like whatever awakening got started when you heard the sermon about the honeybee, it just started to bloom and blossom from there. And
Hmm.
so you got to Delaware, your son left, it's just you get to be yourself and do things on your own terms. Do you feel like things started to move pretty quickly as far as like the mindset of freedom that you had matching up with the lifestyle that you were creating, or do you feel like it was still a gradual process?
It was gradual and very slow because you know what
Mhm.
happens, L'Oreal? We get even if it's not what we want,
Mhm.
sometimes it's comfortable.
Mm. Yeah.
So I was comfortable in that place. I knew who I was. I knew the job that I had. I knew that, even though they weren't approving of who I was and what I was, I
Mhm.
knew they still loved me in the way that they could. So girl, it went at a snail's pace. Because let's be clear, even though I left New Jersey, because one dude broke my heart, there was another dude that, was dangling possibilities that I held
Yeah.
on to. So I
Mhm.
spent a year and a half, and I'm gonna tell you when it really happened. I spent a year and a half in Delaware, um, celibate, not
Mhm.
dating, not going outside, because I'm waiting for the dude in New York to figure out what he want to do, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
So it just so happens that again at this church was pivotal in a lot of ways. At this
Mhm.
church, this woman had said that she had never been to the Bahamas. Now I had traveled. Now listen, I had traveled by myself
Mhm.
before it was the thing to do.
Yeah.
And I had been to the Bahamas by myself before. So this woman said she wanted to go to the Bahamas, and I was like, "Oh well, you know me bragging, being braggadocious. I got a timeshare. You know, this is back in the day when money was rolling,
Yeah.
and I was good. I was a rich white lady. Uh, um, like I got a timeshare. We can fly for this and that and blah blah, and we can get there and we go. And the lady was like, "Oh, okay, I'll do," because me and her was hanging tough. Me and this lady and roll up to the top like 3 weeks before we were supposed to go because she wanted to take her daughter for her birthday. She wanted to take her daughter to the Bahamas. They had never been. And I was rocking with them because they were like my friends, my
Yeah.
first friends in Delaware. And so, like 3 weeks before we were set to go, well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to go. Do what?
Wow. Right.
And again, Tracy don't lose money. I don't pay
Mhm.
cancellation fees and I ain't losing my points. I gotta go.
Mhm.
And I end up going to the Bahamas. Girl, let me tell you how bootleg this Bahamas trip was.
Oh my goodness.
Um, because I couldn't afford because I found I needed to go by myself. It was 3 weeks before. I hadn't bought my plane ticket. I hadn't done nothing like that. And I was living in Delaware. Now when I lived in Jersey, you can get flights anywhere because I go to New York. You get flights anywhere for like
Mhm.
$99, $100 or whatever.
Mhm.
But I was in Delaware, so I had to fly to Philadelphia. So the flights were looking real crazy.
Mhm.
I had to take a flight I ended up taking a flight to Fort Lauderdale, which it turned out in my favor, but it was bootlegged as hell. I took a flight from Philadelphia to Fort Lauderdale, and then in Fort Lauderdale, you can take a ferry from Fort Lauderdale to the Bahamas, but it leaves the
Mhm.
crack ass of dawn, right?
Mhm.
So I took that flight by myself from Fort Lauderdale to to Fort Lauderdale, and then I got on the ferry the next morning and got to the Bahamas. Now the thing about the Bahamas, child, is the Bahamas island. I don't know if it's small or if it's small for black people because girl, before I got to my destination where I was gonna be staying,
Mhm.
it seemed like the whole island of black men knew that there was a girl from the Americas on the island by herself.
Oh
All
my
right.
goodness. Yeah.
Now listen, I told you I had been celibate for
Mhm.
whatever amount of time. I had got on this island and I needed a driver because I arranged to um, do a donation to a children's home while I was there. Right.
Mhm.
So I had gathered all of these things from my friends and some old church members in Jersey to deliver these items. So I needed a driver to take me from where I was staying to this place.
Mhm.
Baby, listen, driver came, took me. We ended up having a good conversation. And he was like, "Oh, this is so good." Because see, they think because people in the Caribbean, a lot of people are very poor. They
Mhm.
believe that when you're coming and doing stuff like that, you're wealthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a regular girl,
Mhm.
that has a giving heart. That's all. And I wanted to turn this trip, since the trip wasn't going to be what it was supposed to be, I needed to
Mhm.
turn it into something else.
Right.
So me and him got to talking or whatever. He dropped me off, and told me, he said, well, call me when you're ready to go back, whatever, because I need to make sure I was safe. So I said, I'll stay with you. So he told me I had a great time with the children. They were very grateful for the donation. Um, I even sat with the children we had a little conversation, a little upliftment and things like that. And let me tell you something. When I left that facility, I think they did more for me than I did for them.
Mm.
So I'm on a high. Dude
Yeah.
comes back and pick me up, and I'm gonna tell you, dude, because I don't remember his name.
And that's okay. That is
So when
okay.
dude comes and picks me up, and he's like, "Well, do you need to do anything while you're out here?" And I said, "You know what? A couple of friends of mine want white Hennessy. I need to know where to go get it because I've only ever been, on a cruise." He's like, "I take you to get some white Hennessy. We'll get some white Hennessy or whatever." We still chatting it up, and then he drops me off. He takes me to get the white Hennessy. He takes me to get something to eat, and he drops me off at my thing, and then he leaves. Very
Mhm.
polite, and I'm thinking in my mind like, girl, you should have pushed up. You
Right.
know, you need somebody to wipe the cobwebs off this coochie, and
Right.
then you and I ain't do nothing. Next day though, I come out to do my regular thing or thing because I'm by myself. Literally, I'm by
Mhm.
myself. So I'm gonna find things to do. I go to the pool or whatever, and while I'm walking, I see his car. He went to the front desk. He's looking for me.
Mhm.
So I roll up and I'm like, hey. Yesterday he said I wanted to know if you wanted to go to lunch later today. I gotta work now, but I'll come back and get you later. I'm like, cool, you can do that. Girl, I don't know this man from a can of paint. I
Right.
don't know him, right? But something said go on. Girl, we went and had some lunch and then he had some lunch on the beach later, if you get what I'm saying.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
I don't know what happened then. Because all my life I had been taught that sex should only happen in a committed relationship, that
Yeah.
whatever, a marriage. I had already had a baby out of wedlock or whatever, and here I am in the Bahamas
Getting freaky on the beach.
getting freaky outside on a beach. With I couldn't. Can I tell you? I don't know his name. I don't remember his name, but I remember
That's
what he did.
okay. Right. Right.
But had a great time, and I went back and I was like, hmm. I had that was it was the best time. And I think I came home from there and the journey began.
Mhm. Mhm.
That fucking journey. That I don't because I was on the island where I girl like the clothes that I had on, I had tummies out, titties free,
Mhm.
whatever, and I had always been taught, you can't wear your tummy out because you're fat. You gotta wear a bra all the time because what? But I just came home with a new sense of freedom, probably because I had let somebody fuck me on the beach that I ain't know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and I think that's when before the Bahamas, it was like at a snail's pace.
Yeah.
I was kind of doing things. But after the Bahamas, I think I was just like, yeah. Can't nobody tell me what to do.
Mhm. I love that. You out here living people's fantasies, having a whole how Stella got the groove back moment. But I think, outside of that, right, for the listeners, even if you're not able to have that kind of a moment, I believe the takeaway from that is do something that you may not have done or just follow through with the promises that you make to yourself and
Yeah.
be open to what can come from that.
The other thing is listen to yourself
Yeah.
because every logical thing in my mind would never have gone anywhere with that man.
Right,
Would have
right.
canceled the trip before I went. Wouldn't have leaned into life and or what I know now is play in that day.
Mhm.
But something inside of me said it'll be okay.
Mhm.
When I tell people that story, and I said, that man could have skinned me and wore me as a dress, and nobody would have even known I was missing.
Mhm. Yeah.
But it turned out okay. The other caveat is I left that man on Bahama Island.
Right.
Now Stella made the mistake
Yeah.
of bringing
Yeah.
that fool home.
That's that's a whole other situation. I'm not saying go get locked in, but live a little.
Live a
Live a
little,
little
live
bit.
a little, and enjoy it. And it doesn't even have to be. I think the other thing is it doesn't even have to be that type of thing because I
Right.
think what I thought was when that internal uh decision happened, that it had to be something big or huge.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be that you fly to the Bahamas and meet some random driver and have sex on the beach. No,
Mm.
it can be something simple as today. I signed up to be
Yeah.
whatever, and I decided, yeah, I'd rather take care of me today. And that's what it is. It's not even about doing something in my house or whatever. It's about the fact that I thought about all of the things that I would have to tell these people when I got there.
Mhm.
And I would have to tell them, I need to sit down, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to whatever. So not only would that have put me in a place where I might have been uncomfortable, but it also puts the onus on these people that are supposed to be doing something else
Mhm.
to take care of me.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
only person, what I do know is the only person that I can 100% depend on to take care of me is me.
Yes.
So me
Yeah.
saying no, I'm not gonna go to that today was about me taking care of me. Some people
Right.
might say it's selfish, and guess what? That's okay.
It is. It is. And another thing I appreciate you sharing, another reason why I appreciate you sharing that story is like if you notice if like listeners, if y'all notice, not one time did she romanticize what was happening between her and this other person. She just let herself be present in the moment.
And we
And
don't do that.
we don't. So often we want things or we think about things, and when something happens that feels good, we want to latch on to it, hold on to it as tight as possible, and we end up turning it into something that it's not supposed to be.
That makes us miserable.
Right, right.
While just not looking at it on face value for
Mhm.
the thing that it was at that moment. We
Mhm.
miss we miss so many good moments projecting the end.
Yeah.
And child, let me tell you something. That's something that I had to heal from.
Mm.
Girl, I would get a call. You want to go to lunch? Oh yeah, we can go to lunch. Girl, but in the middle of a burger, I had us at the altar. You hear me? In the middle of a burger. I can't get through the lunch without
Right.
projecting what I see is this is what's gonna happen. This is what's gonna be. And again, you know where that comes from? That comes from church. I ain't gonna
Yeah.
lie. Let me tell you because this story feeds right into that thing.
Yeah.
There was this man. So I'm at the church, doing dance ministry, doing whatever. And my church, the church that I attended, was like a site for ministers who are just coming out of school to be educated. The pastor who we sat under was amazing, and so he was like a trainer of preachers. So they would come to our church for training and feeding or whatever. So there was a girl one Sunday. This man came to church, 6'5", bald head, light skin, all of the things,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And it was like, girl, we in church, we crying and we sweating from the thing, but that ain't the only reason why we wet. Okay, hello and good night. So, so this man came in, and a lot of us were single. Let's be clear. And a friend, and these are the things you gotta watch your girlfriend sometimes. You gotta listen to them
Yeah.
half the time, not all the
Yeah.
time. A friend was like, "Look at him! I think God sent him here for you."
Lord. Okay. Keep going.
Now, I had already had a situation going on, let me say, at that
Mhm.
time. Another 6'5", because that's how I like them. But he wasn't in the church. But I said, this one is in the church, whatever. So I began to manipulate
Yeah.
opportunities to be in his
Yeah.
prayer. I'm not going to ask you. I'm not going to. I'm still a girl, as
Mhm.
liberated as I am. I am never going to ask you to be with me, get with me,
Yeah.
nothing. I'm just going to manipulate situations where I'm in your presence. So I was doing that, and so were a lot of other people. Me and him though became friendly, right? Because I whatever it is, men always like you so easy to talk to. So me and him became friendly. Girl, listen, that man was a plum fool. You hear me?
Oh, yeah. I can
Couldn't
believe
keep
it.
a couldn't keep a job.
Mm.
Lived with his mama. So basically, the ministering thing was his new hustle. Let's be
Mm.
clear.
Mhm.
But I remained friends with him, and it got so to the point that somebody else who was a familial connection had me called on the carpet because God had actually sent him there for her. Yeah, not
Mm.
me. And
Mm.
I was like, girl, you can have him because he's a fool.
Right.
Like he's my friend, and that's all it will ever be. But these are the things that we do to ourselves.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we project the end. So in this instance, here I am sitting in church, over 30. So when we over 30, we automatically somebody has said there's a biological. I'd already had a baby, knew I didn't want another one, but there's a
Right.
clock ticking for us. So you got to do the right things so you can get coupled. So here I am in church, over 30. This man 6'5", who looks like he could be something,
Mhm.
is there. Good girlfriend tells me God sent him for me. Your girl's always got your back. So maybe she knew.
Mhm.
And she was a little bit more church than I was.
Yeah.
So, maybe she know what she's talking about. So, and I'm doing these things. And not only was this man not meant, because I'm not friends with him today. Not only was this man not meant to be with me, but I was not meant to be with him or anybody else there.
Yeah.
Because none of it was good for me.
Yeah.
But had I just followed what the church and what other people said, it would be disastrous. But that's what
Mhm.
we do
Yeah.
instead of just looking at it for what it was. So me and him had a good friendship for a long time, and that's all it was supposed to be for that season. So to those watching, sometimes when you have these aha moments and these connections, let it enjoy the moments.
Mhm.
Whatever is going to happen in the end is going to happen.
Mhm.
And I think that's the biggest lesson I've learned in my current relationship is that I enjoy I did not first of all I did not seek him out. Honey, the young one came to me.
Mhm. I
so,
remember.
so I did not seek him out. I did not tell him what to do because that's another thing we do because they drill into us that you got to tell a man how to treat you. You don't. A man knows what to do.
Yeah.
Um, and I've just been enjoying the moments. And now I had again my girlfriends. I love them, but what's y'all title? What's y'all this?
Mhm.
Why are you so concerned? You more
Right.
concerned about this than I am,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And it's just I'm enjoying. I'm literally living at a place now at 55 where I am enjoying the moments of my life, not worrying about how it will end, because
Mm.
that's how often we do. And me doing that has it's alleviated so much. Now I
Mhm.
met this guy. It's going to transition. It's probably one of your questions. So this is going to transition. I met this guy on there's a wonderful site for one thing that my therapist, who's my good friend for, we went to this like meeting of black folks to talk about alternate relationship styles, intimacy styles.
Mhm.
And I was introduced to BDSM, which I didn't think black folks did. I ain't gonna lie. I thought that was
Mhm.
white folks shit. I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
And then because of the person that I am, the nerd that I am, I began to research. I had already been at the time because I had this dalliance with this man in the Bahamas. I said, you know what? I miss sex. I know what the Bible says. I know what these people say, but I want to fuck.
Right.
So I need to fuck. So um, I had always been intrigued. When I was little, listen, when I was little, my porn intrigued me. And now we didn't have the access that we have now to it, but I always heard the term swinger. So
Mhm.
because I said I'm a logical Sagittarius before anything else. I said I want to fuck. I don't know if I want to get in a relationship, and I need it to be safe. Let's become a swinger.
Mhm.
So I did that. So I had already been doing that, which is how I got my heart broke.
Mhm.
But I had already been doing that. So when we went into this thing, and they were talking about BDSM, they were talking about swinging, which they all now term under this lifestyle term. I don't know when that came up, but that's what
Mhm.
all of it is under that umbrella now.
Yeah.
So we're at this place. So I found out about this site called FetLife, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
I had been on it for a while, but not really, doing whatever because I'm dangling between life. But I got down here. I'm dragging life because when I first moved to Louisiana, I was waiting for the same dude that I was waiting for to act right in Delaware. I was waiting for him to come to Louisiana. He never came. So we go to the celibacy cycle.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
spent like almost a year waiting for him to decide to come here because that is who I'm supposed to be with because he's real good on paper. And he never came. So I tap into Fat Life one night, and I think I wrote a note that says something like, "I'm new to the area, and I'm looking for friends, lovers, and others." Right. And now that got a whole because there's a picture of my ass on Fat Life. Now, y'all, I don't have a big ass. I don't. But it's a nice ass. It's all right. So, so of course that sent a flurry of people to my inbox talking all kinds of shit. And I got one that was just like I think it says something like simple, just like hi, I want to get to know you better, or something like that. We started a conversation with me and this young man. And that turned into um what we have now. And he didn't say he was a dom. He said he was a sensual sadist. Now, and for me, I'm not trying. Now there are several levels to BDSM.
Yes, there are.
I'm not trying to get hurt.
Right.
I'm not trying to get no whelps.
Mhm.
I'm not don't
You're
come
not
in
trying
here
to get
trying
beat.
to I'm not trying to get beat. Don't degrade me. We're not doing any of
Mhm.
that. But
Mhm.
I have learned that I enjoy having my senses, all five of my senses, titillated in some type of way. So I was like, all right, so me and him had some conversations, and we was just talking back and forth or whatever, because I was really not trying to talk to somebody who was 38 and I'm 50,
Mhm.
whatever.
I remember.
Um, And but the conversations were good and they weren't heavily sexual. Unlike the 62-year-old man that DM'd me
Just
and then
nasty.
FaceTime me butt ass naked.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
so me and him met up, and girl, at a Mexican restaurant, very nondescript. Me and him met up and he stood up at the table when I was walking in. First of all, L'Oreal, I never experienced that before.
Uh-huh.
So there was a certain politeness in that and a chivalry in that I never experienced in my life. I
Mhm.
was like, why he standing up? He already sitting down, but he stood up, took my chair out, helped me in or whatever. And I was like, okay, all
Mhm.
right. And first, girl, when he stood up and he was 6'5", again, told you I like him like that. I
Mhm.
said, oh yeah. I said, well, I don't know what we gonna do here, but I'm gonna climb that tree before.
That is so real. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. I'm so here for that.
So we met and he still wasn't. We met on like December 16th at that restaurant, And he still wasn't trying. I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
serious. You
Mhm. Yeah.
And it was a while, like after Christmas, January 6th, we like met. He's like, you know what, I want to cuddle or whatever. And I was like, cuddle. And we met, he got a room at, someplace because I told him in the beginning, I don't play at my house.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to be somebody to be at my house. I don't play at my house. So he got a room and we went over to the room. And again, here I sent all my girlfriends his picture, his license, his telephone,
Right, as you should.
just in
Straight
case
up.
I come up missing. And we began a journey together in that night. And that night, girl, I was the initiate. I was like, yeah, I'm not trying to cuddle.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, take your pants off. Like, I don't know what you thought this was. But after that night, we began a journey that I did not even know I needed in terms of BDSM. Because I am who I am, because I had a baby at 22, because I wanted to defy everything that everybody told me I couldn't do. I'm a very ambitious, hardworking, person. Like I'm a boss, as the girls say, I'm a boss bitch every day.
Mhm.
I'm running my house because I was a single parent. I'm running my life. Can't nobody tell me nothing. I work in a very white male dominated field, so I gotta be on all the time. And for the first time in my life, because I had done scenes with other people. I had been flogged. I had, done a couple of things with other people. But for the first time in my life, this person created a space where I could let all of that boss bitch offense, because I'm on offense all the time.
Yeah.
I could let all of that go. And the first time, so his passion is wax play, and I'm down for anything. I guess that's a Sagittarius in me. I'll try anything. But as I told him this. I said everything from the week melted in that wax
Mhm.
when you put it on me.
Mhm.
When I'm with you, I don't have to be. I walk in the room all the time. I'm Tracy from North New Jersey, and you're gonna respect me. I don't have to be her. I can just be. I'm Tracy from North New Jersey, and I like to play jacks and do hula hoop and play hopscotch with my friends. Who is the little Tracy? So grown Tracy has to be on a fence all the time. Little Tracy doesn't. So I got to be her with him in any time that I am through that. And it's because of the things that happen. There's a book, The Body Keeps the Score. Everything that you go through, everything that you do happens and stays and retains in your body, right? With this individual, when we have our scenes, when we have our play together, whether it's electro play or wax play, or he's now studying fire play, I'm very afraid, pray for me. And or just, regular impact play with clogs or whatever. Anything that I've gone through, anything that I've felt leaves my body in those sessions. And the fact that somebody who has to be, now we don't use the submissive term because I told them I'm never submissive to anybody.
Mhm.
But anytime we're in those sessions or anytime we're doing that, even when I talk to them, because it even carries over to our regular vanilla life, right? I can let go of that girl who had to protect little Tracy because that's who that is. You're not gonna people disrespected her. I was bullied as a child. I was
Mhm.
told what to do as a child. I was unfortunately um, violated as a child. All of that. So all of those things that happened to little Tracy created the big Tracy. That I'm a bad bitch. I'm gonna beat your ass before you beat mine.
Mhm.
And girl, I
Mhm.
can't fight. Can I tell you? I can't fight. But, but, but I don't have to fight because my mouth does it for me. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? But anytime that wax hits my back or a flog hits my ass or whatever, the thing about it is not that action so much
Mhm.
as that when all of that happens and those energies leave my body, then I'm embraced, coddled, cuddled by him, by this man, who
Mhm.
then gives me what little Tracy never got.
Mm. Mhm. Mhm.
So
And
that's
so,
the journey.
go
Huh?
ahead. Go ahead.
So that's the journey of me getting, and I'm still at this place where I'm still dangling the sides or whatever, but I've decided that it matters more what I need. And as a mom, as a wife, everything in our lives is about what our kid, our husband, or whatever our family needs. But
Mhm.
that brings me to the place that I gives to the level of self, I guess what they consider selfishness, but I consider it selfless. Um, where I can choose me
Yep.
before anything else.
That's beautiful. And I understand being in that space, and I understand how healing it can be. And so, what I wanted to ask you is, what role does vulnerability play in BDSM? And how did that deepen your relationship with yourself and your current partner?
When you think about how you're surrendered your body and your person to this person for the scene, for the time, for whatever. I can't be, usually I'm good for saying, yeah, I ain't doing that. I'm good for that. Being vulnerable hmm, has been so liberating because you know how much it takes to hold on to things and not be vulnerable.
Mhm.
And you're holding on
A
to those
lot.
things for the yeah, and you're holding on to those things out of fear. So while we think that the usual connection between vulnerability is that I can't be vulnerable because I'm protecting myself, right? But it's because we can't be vulnerable because we're afraid that if we don't, we are, that the safety is not there. So we're always on a fence. We're always ready to go. We're always holding guard. But letting go lets us let again back to Elsa. That letting go and allowing our vulnerabilities to just be. And it's that fuck it thing too. Because that's saying fuck it to my vulnerabilities. You know what I'm saying? So letting that go has let out. Not only do you let go of the fact that I have to protect myself all the time, which we do. Don't be crazy and just do this with anybody, because you gotta vet before you get into these interactions.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But once vetted and you know that you can be safe with this person, letting that go allows you to feel so much. Because if you don't relax, and I don't know if you've ever had a scene, if you don't fully relax yourself while you're in session, you will not the fly won't hurt you, the candle won't hurt you, you'll hurt you because you're tense.
Yeah.
You're
Mhm.
tense, your nerves are at peak, and all of that doesn't mix well.
Mhm.
And I know that from experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you relax and allow yourself to be vulnerable, not only for the physical experience, but for the emotional experience that happens with it, I never experienced subspace until I let it completely go.
That
Right?
high is something else.
It's better than any orgasm I've had, and I've had several.
Mhm. Mhm.
But the thing I love about my partnership, because BDSM is not about intercourse. It's not
Yeah.
about penetration. But what I love about my partner is I get the full realm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he gonna take me to subspace and make me come crazy.
Mhm.
And girl, get you one. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, well, I love that, and I'm absolutely gonna have to do an episode where I talk to people more about kink and BDSM and how to properly vet people. You know what to look for. We'll get into Fed life and all that stuff. I promise it's gonna come in a separate episode. But I really do appreciate you sharing your experience because I know that there's people listening and watching who are interested, and they have these misconceptions. They think it's only for white people. They think it's the extreme kind of fucked up shit that you see in porn. And it can be that, but it's
It's
not
not.
always that.
It's
Yeah.
not. And half of y'all doing it anyway.
Yeah. And don't even know it.
When he smacks your ass,
Mhm.
that's impact.
Yeah.
When he chokes you a little bit, which is my favorite, all of that is. It's just if you I think if we change the language
Yes.
from BDSM to something that's similar to igniting our senses, because that
Mhm.
is what it
Yeah.
is. You
Absolutely.
bring your senses, and your sense usually sex and intimacy is something that only affects us from the waist down.
Yeah.
That's it.
Mhm.
But when you bring the BDSM into it, the way it's supposed to be done, and know it for yourself, don't allow anyone to tell you what it is.
Yeah.
You bring all your senses into the intimacy, and it heightens the play and pleasure intimately. But it also plays into your regular life, into your vanilla life.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I love about your platform, is that you speak of pleasure not just in a sexual context, because that's what people put it.
Yeah.
Pleasure? Oh, you talking about? No, you put it in a thing. BDSM, that thing for me is what my journey to pleasure started at that revival, with that analogy of the bee, continued at that when I took those children to see Elsa, with me in the way that I interpret things, listening to that Let It Go song, and me identifying with having to be the perfect girl, with having to follow all the rules, with having whatever, and then it's okay to let it go because I'm still here.
Mhm.
And it's not only fed into it's not only fed into my sexual life, which is great, but it's also made me more confident in how I approach things at work, how I approach things, when I'm just dealing with people like out in the street, and also how I approach my life. Like I sit here by myself, and today literally I'm gonna put my Christmas tree up, I'm gonna decorate my house, and I'm gonna watch Christmas movies all day. For me, that's pleasure. I made myself a hot cup of tea. That's pleasurable, you know? So it is what, if I had to sum this up at all, you have one life. That's what we got. And while I may have more years behind me than I have ahead of me, I have the opportunity to make those years what I want them to be, as opposed to fulfilling some plan that somebody who don't even know me put in there for me. And I'm not talking about God, because God has a plan. My pastor used to say that God has a vision for my life greater than anything I could think for myself or anybody else could think of me. And I believe that. And what that is ain't got nothing to do with what my mama wanted me to do, what my brother wanted me to do, what them old church ladies who ain't seen no penis in 2,500 years told me to do. It has nothing to do with that. You have at any time in life, I am proof positive that at any time in life, you have the opportunity to pivot and make life what you want it to be. And it doesn't have to be a big, it doesn't, people always think it has to be some big gesture. It doesn't. People think it has to happen till I win lottery or make a lot of money. It doesn't. People think
Mhm.
it has to happen. People who live in a plus size body think it has to happen after I lose 20, 50 pounds or whatever. It doesn't. The thing is that the body that I live in currently has served me for 55 years and served many others. The life that I have lived, I've been able to do all the things that I've been able to do in life with the little money I have. And I've never been rich. I've never been wealthy. I have gotten to a place where I was comfortable, but it's the choices that we make. And who would have thought that I could take a $50 flight to Fort Lauderdale and then catch a $30 ferry? Nobody would ever think that. And I call it bootleg, but that is a way that you make your life what you want it to be within your means.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So any day you can make a pivot and change your mind about what it is. I have friends who to this day love to tell me, I would never date a man 15 years younger than me. Well, that's why you're not.
Right.
And is anybody 15 years younger than you trying to holler? No. So what are you saying?
Right. Mhm.
So life as we're living it and as you're living it right now can change at any moment based on your decision.
Absolutely. So this is why when we did the summit, I'm like, we're gonna have to talk again because I still got so many more questions, but I do want to be respectful of your time, and so I want to ask one. I'm gonna ask two questions that I ask every guest on the show. The first question is, what is your non-negotiable pleasure principle?
You have to give me the opportunity to give as good as I'm receiving.
Mm,
And that's something I had to teach my current partner. He's well about, it's all about you. It ain't about me. It ain't all about me. How about this? It gives me joy and pleasure to suck the skin off of your dick. I want to do that because sometimes sometimes some men because men don't know how to think about pleasure. They really don't. They
mm-mm.
think like, oh, well, as long as I'm giving her all I need and blah blah blah, I want to do something for you. That ain't got
Yeah.
to do with me. That ain't got to do with me cooking you, frying you some chicken or doing
Mhm.
whatever, whatever. I want to do something for you too. So for me, it has to be that I have to be given the opportunity. For me, pleasure has to be reciprocal. I need to
Yeah.
be able to give as good as I'm getting back, and it needs to be safe.
I love
Period.
that. Mhm. Okay. And the last question that I want to ask is, what does pleasure feel like for you?
Freedom.
Mm. Mm. I like that. I like
Yeah.
that a whole lot. Mm-mm-mm. Okay. So I have so many more questions, but we probably gonna have to get together again, like for real, because I still got like my mind is just full of questions that I want to ask, especially about goddesshood and things like that, and how you develop that and how you live that out. Because there's a lot of women
Oh,
out here
girl, let me
claiming to be
let
a
me tell
goddess,
you right
and
now. Let me tell you right now. We can zip that up in 5 minutes. We can talk about it a little bit more later. But
yeah,
the basis is that a goddess. So we love to get queen. I'm a queen. I'm a queen. I'm a queen.
mhm,
Queens got too many responsibilities.
they do,
Goddesses do not.
mhm,
Goddesses rule from a higher realm.
Yeah.
that doesn't have to do with the day to day. If you're a queen, you got to be a queen of something, queen of
Mm.
the castle, queen of whatever. If you're a goddess, you just are.
Mm. Mhm.
And too many of us don't walk through life. It has taken a long time. I think the biggest thing about it is, and this could be a topic for you, and it's for Black women. We do not give ourselves the privilege to just be,
Mm. Yeah,
and
we don't.
that's what being a goddess is. I'm just here. I am heavenly, and I am here.
Mhm. I
That's
love that. I love that. Thank you so much. And yes, we're gonna talk about it some more. Damn it, you do this all the time. But it as always, it is a pleasure. It is so good to see your face, to see your smile. And just be in community with you is everything. So thank you so much for taking the time to share with me and all of the audience members here today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Mwah!
Now y'all go do something today that's just for you.
Yes, please do
Fuck
it.
them kids, fuck them kids, and fuck that man or woman, whoever your partner is.
Y'all heard what she said. Get out there and go do it.
All right now.
Thank you for joining me on this week's episode of the Power of Pleasure podcast. Make sure to check the website powerofpleasurepodcast.substack.com. On the site, not only will you find some blog posts and other helpful tools to help you continue the mission, you'll also be able to access the show notes as well as any social links and resources from this week's guest. While you're at it, if you found this information valuable, which I'm sure you did in some way, go ahead and take a few moments to leave a rating or review wherever you're listening to this episode and share out on social. I hope to see you next week for another episode of the show. And in the meantime, in between time, go out and do one thing today to help you embrace pleasure as a lifestyle.